Pugsley, the baby weighs 10 pounds. The cannonball weighs 20 pounds. Which will hit the stone walkway first?
I'm still on fractions.
In the autumn of 1989, my family had the pleasure of going to our local video store. With as little bloodshed as possible, we decided to rent the new Ghostbusters movie. We took the movie home, and after the previews finished, we were treated to Sigourney Weaver pushing a baby carriage through New York City. And in an instant, the baby carriage, with the baby inside, takes off down the busy city streets. And I thought, that's messed up. 32 years later, I was watching Battleship Potemkin for my film studies course. Suddenly, during the at the Odessa steps, a baby is pushed down the long staircase to its unfortunate end. And I thought, that's messed up. Throughout the late 80s and mid 90s, there was a multitude of movies that featured at some point a baby in peril. To the point, it was even lampooned in The Naked Gun 33 and a third, The Final Insult. This begs the question, who would let their kids watch this? In an ultra brief rundown, in 1922, the Motion Pictures Producer and Distributors of America was founded by William Hayes, because Hollywood was a little seedy. The MPPDA, led by Hayes, established the Motion Picture Production Code, or as it's commonly known, the Hayes Code, which gave a list of what could and could not be in a movie. Profanity out, violence out, nudity out. That was until 1968, when Jack Valenti introduced the rating system we have today. One of the key features of the rating system is that it gave every movie a rating of G, PG, or R. The problem with this is that when violence is shown, it is often downplayed by the MPA's Classification and Ratings Administration, or CARA, if it is fantastical or comedic. James Kendrick writes in his book Hollywood Bloodshed, Violence in the 1980s American Cinema. Even graphically explicit violence can be deemed acceptable for unrestricted audience by CARA if it is done with a comedic framework. The Black Knight sequence in the medieval comedy Monty Python and the Holy Grail is a good example. In this sequence, King Arthur battles a mysterious Black Knight for the right to pass over a bridge. During the fight, Arthur managed to chop off both of the knight's arms and both of his legs as well, as the sequence's comedy emerges from the knight's refusal not only to back down from such serious wounds, but to even acknowledge their severity. This depiction is myriaded through laughs. A movie that features a man's arms and legs cut off with blood spurting was rated PG. In 1984, the MPA decided to create a new rating after various backlashes with only the PG and R ratings. This PG-13 rating now allowed CARA to have some middle ground within its ratings and essentially did nothing to protect children from watching violence. In an article from American Psychological Association, it looked at the 1982 report from the National Institute of Mental Health, which showed the effects of youth seeing violence on the screen. The report found that children may become less sensitive to the pain and suffering of others. Children may be more fearful of the world around them. And children may be more likely to behave in aggressive or harmful ways towards others. So how do we put this in the context of movies? It's been shown that children imitate things they see in movies, and it's been shown that the majority of movies that come out have a PG-13 rating. That means, honestly, that children are exposed to violence more and more as movies come out, and that's good for business. When we look at babies in peril in film, we are showing a root desire to be shocked. We are taking the pontification of innocence and putting it in harm's way to fulfill an essential human response. And we love it. In 2007, the National Institutes of Health published an article by L. Roel Huseman titled The Impact of Electronic Media Violence. In the article, Huseman states since the early 1960s, research evidence has been accumulating that suggests the exposure to violence in television, movies, video games, cell phones, and on the internet increase the risk of violent behavior on the viewer's part, just as growing up in an environment filled with real violence increases the risk of them behaving violently. Or to explain it more straightforwardly, movies with violence in them make us inherently more violent. Films have increasingly become more violent as our appetites for violence have increased. We can look at Babies in Peril as the ultimate depraved violent act. Taking the most innocent of us, putting them in danger, fulfills a deeply rooted fascination with seeing others in danger. In the undertones of Baby in Peril, what is being said? Could be surmised that we are putting ourselves in harm's way when we see these images. We are simultaneously in the role of protector and the role of the victim. We are the hero and we are the baby. We think about the loss of innocence that we want to hold so dearly. That is why this trope is so effective. It gets you in the mindset that you must, above all else, protect the baby. That fragile, beautiful life that we all hold dear. Remember that in these movies, the hero saves the baby, righting the balance in the world. It should be noted that in Speed, the bus does hit a baby carriage, but there was no baby inside. Or, in other cases, the baby saves themselves, allowing them to survive in a world where they are the master of their destiny. They find their protection within their innocence. Conversely, in Pet Sematary, Gage just straight up dies. The audience is left watching the innocence of him, and additionally, the father's innocence die right in front of them. These homages to Battleship Potemkin frustrate me. It is one thing when it is essential to the plot, as in Ghostbusters 2 or Addams Family Values, but honestly, the scene from The Untouchables was not needed or warranted. Why do we need to see some poopy-filled diaper in a precarious situation? What value does it bring to the film in some meaningful sense? What's the director or writer trying to convey with this? I woefully have no insight.